Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this Athenian Stranger tutorial video. I got a request from some other students, some good students, who said that they were still struggling with this homework, and so I thought I would do the rest of them. And as a part of this, I want to just lay the cards on the table here and explain that if you're struggling to do this assignment, that's okay. You know, the expectation is that you would be struggling to do this assignment. It's a hard assignment. You know, this is some tough stuff, this algebra. I can tell you right now that when I was your age, I was absolutely tortured by this stuff. You know, I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand why we have the letters or what they meant. And I felt desperate and hopeless, okay? That was back in the year 2000. We still had dial-up internet. There was nothing like YouTube. So even if my teacher had desired to make these videos solving them, he couldn't have possibly done so because, you know, the cameras didn't have the pixel density to resolve these images or project them or record them or upload them to any platform. So you are living in a time that is just abundant with help for you. So I thought I would take a moment and teach you as a student here in the 21st century, right, in the year 2019 and whenever you're watching this thereafter, how I would go about doing this if I was your age and I didn't have a teacher sitting at home to help me, okay, which none of you do. So if you have an internet connection, you have everything that you need to get these problems done and teach yourself how to solve them. So in this video, I'm going to show you not just how to solve them on paper, but how to help yourself learn how to solve them, okay? Because merely copying down what I put here is absolutely not going to help you learn, okay? You have to do the work. So let me show you a few things that I've learned here, some of the stuff I've learned from you guys on how I would go about getting help, okay? Let's take a look at number 2. If you have absolutely no idea what to do, all right, I want to show you how you can go online and get some help that will teach you at least how to get started. So we know that we need to graph these two equations. And the problem that we're having is that we can't graph these equations when they're written like this. They have to be in slope-intercept form. They have to be in words. The y is all by itself on the left side, and everything else is on the right, and it's written in a way that can be graphed. Okay? So let's go to a browser like Chrome or some other browser, Firefox or Edge. And let me show you how I would start this. First, I would open up the Desmos test mode app, this one right here. And this is what would be available to you on, let me make sure you can see this. Yep, you can see it. All right, so this is what would be available to you on the STAR test. And you just go to desmos.com, or you can download the Desmos app on your phone. And what you're going to do is just type in the equations exactly as they appear. 5x plus 2y equals 4. You see it just graphed that line right there. And now hit enter and type in the next one. 3x plus 6y equals negative 12. And just like that, it's graphed the solution to the system. And if you zoom in, you can see where they cross. And you click there, and it'll tell you they cross at 2, negative 3. Okay, what else would you need to know? Well, you need to make sure that your line has a y-intercept. The first equation has a y-intercept at 2, and the second equation has a y-intercept at negative 2. And this is where they cross, okay? And if you're interested, here are the x-intercepts right here. So there's all the points that you would need to find in order to graph the lines, all right? And if you just copy this down, if you just try to draw this, you've learned nothing, right? So that's the way to cheat, but the way that you would use this tool to not cheat is just by looking at it and kind of knowing, okay, All right, I can take a deep breath because I already know the answer and I already know what the lines should look like. They're both downward sloping, so they have negative slopes. And now what would you do from here? Well, what I would do is I would go to mathway.com. So if you pull up mathway.com, it allows you to just type these in again. So type them in one at a time. 5x plus 2y equals 4. All right, and just hit this little arrow. And it's going to ask you how you should solve the problem. Well, you need this to be written in y equals mx plus b form or slope-intercept form, right? They're the same. So if you click the first one, it just tells you the answer. Now, this is all that it's going to do in the free version of the software. But if you pay, I think it's $39 a year, okay, and if you want to pay by month, it's $9.99, $9.99 per month. You can click this button that says tap to view steps, and it will show you all of the steps to get to the answer, okay? Look at the steps that it gives you. Subtract 5x from both sides of the equation. Divide each term by 2, then simplify. Reorder 2 and negative 5x over 2, and then rewrite negative 5x over 2 in slope-intercept form where you've got the fraction out to the left. So if you're subscribed to the premium version of the software, you absolutely can get the answer. All right? And I think that if you were to follow these steps, it's very similar to following what I do in the video, only at every step, if you try to understand, look at, they even have more steps here. Within this step where you're dividing each term by 2, they will tell you every single step. Look at this. So I'm not going to tell you that you have to pay this money. I'm saying, I'm providing the videos and you're learning in class, but here are all the steps that we're going to do to turn 5x plus 2y equals 4 into the slope-intercept form of the equation, negative 5 over 2x plus 2. Okay, so I'm showing you this because I want you to know that it's available to you. That's the premium subscription. So talk to your parents, see if this is something that they're willing to pay for, and show them this video. If they say, oh, that's cheating, I'm saying that if you use this correctly, it's not cheating. It's only cheating if you just copy the stuff down and you don't actually learn how to do it on your own. All right, but again, I would have mortgaged my life back when I was your age to have something like this available. Now, if your parents have the money to do it, you can actually pay even more money. It ends up being like $14.95 extra per month, and you can connect to a live tutor. Okay, so you click that button, and if you've paid the money, it says you can click what you need, right? Let's click this one, or I need to see the answer and the steps, or I need to check my answer to this problem, all right? And you click Get Help, and you're going to be put in a queue, all right? So here we're 7th in line. We're not going to wait for that, but I want you to know that if you waited, a real math tutor would come up on the screen, and you would be able to talk to this math tutor and chat back and forth and get help with your problem. So that's a real help. So let's cancel that out. Mathway is a real help, and you could solve both of them that way and look at all the solution steps until you were very comfortable with how to do it on your own. So Desmos and Mathway together provide a nearly complete solution to really any math problem that you're going to do in high school. So I want to tell you, even I use this. Sometimes when I just can't figure it out, I'll go to Mathway and take a look at it. All right, let's go back to our work surface here. And let's get back into forms. So the very first thing we're going to do for number 2 is we are going to rewrite it on a blank sheet of paper. All right. So now we're comfortable that we've got opportunities to go on to Desmos and Mathway and actually get this thing solved. Desmos is free, And Mathway is free for getting the answer, but not showing the steps. You have to pay for it to show you those steps. In my opinion, it's well worth the money. You know, it's well worth the money. So here we're going to do number 2. All right, so now I'm going to be doing what Mathway tutors would do for you. I'm going to solve this out. So first I'm going to write 5x plus 2y equals 4. Okay, so just like the Mathway steps, I'm going to do the same thing. First, I'm going to get y by itself by starting with this subtracting 5x from both sides. Okay, on the left, they cancel. And I have now 2y equals negative 5x plus 4. Okay? And now I need to divide every single term in this equation by 2. So we'll divide every term in the equation by 2. And that 2 is the coefficient of y. So we have to get rid of it in order to get y by itself. And now these 2's cancel out. And I have y equals negative 5x over 2 plus 2, because 4 divided by 2 simplifies down to 2. Now the next step is to pull this fraction out so you have it written in slope-intercept form like this, where the negative 5 over 2 is kind of out to the left of the x. Okay, and now you've got it done just like Mathway would show you. So we can graph this line. This is the y-intercept right here, and that's where you would start on the coordinate plane at 0, 2. If you go to your coordinate plane and you go up 2, you put a dot there. That's the y-intercept of the first equation. Okay. If you go back here, the slope, if you've written it in this form, this is slope-intercept form, it's written in this form where y equals mx plus b. Okay, b is the y-intercept, and m is the slope. So the slope of this line is negative 5 over 2. Now you have to understand how to use the slope. So if m, let me do this right here, m equals negative 5 over 2. Well, the top part in the numerator, that's the rise. When we see a negative number, we think of it as the fall, because you go down 5. And that's where you would go up and down, depending on whether there's a negative sign there. One thing I want to show you is sometimes you'll get these problems, and that negative sign won't clearly be up on top. It'll just be sitting right here, exactly halfway. And the question is, do I put that negative sign on the bottom or on the top? The answer is always to associate it with the top number. Okay? So you're going to fall 5. And then this bottom part here, this is what we call the run. All right, so it's rise or fall over run. And this is movement on the horizontal direction, left and right. In this case, we are going to fall 5. So we're going to start at the y-intercept. Here's what the thing is going to look like. We're going to fall 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then run 2 to the right, 1, 2. And that's how we get from one point to another on our line in this problem. So here's the y-intercept at 2, and you will go down 5 and over 2, and you'll be somewhere else on the graph. So let's go back to that graph, and we see that we've got our y-intercept plotted at 2, and we're going to go down 5 and over 2 to the right to plot the next point. Down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4, down 5, over 1, over 2. Okay, so here's the next point on the line. Now, my recommendation is to do that again so that your protractor or your straight edge will get you a real accurate line. So you can do this again from this new point. You can go down 1, down 2, down 3, down 4, down 5, over 1, over 2. And this process can go in reverse. So just like we went down 5 over 2, you can just as easily start at some point on your line and go up 5, okay? And then you can go 2 to the left. So you can do rise and run like that where you see how this shape looks the same as this shape. It's just kind of flipped or rotated or reversed. So you could go back to your line and go back to this point up here, and instead of going down 5 and over 2 to the right, you could go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 to the left, just like that. And once you get several points plotted, you see how they kind of all form a line. Now it's time to bring in the straight edge and connect all the dots with a line. Not a line segment, okay? A full line, like this. Okay? Now we did the first line, okay? We did this one up top. And we want to label that line in slope-intercept form. So we can come down here and label it y equals -5 over 2 x plus 2. All right, and that is the same thing as this equation here, but it's in slope-intercept form. This form is called standard form. ax plus by equals c. All right, so we turned it from standard form into slope-intercept form, and then we graphed it. So that was how you do the first equation from number 2. And now we better do the second equation from number 2. I'm just separating this side work a little bit with some dashed lines so you know where things are. And I promised that a student that I would make sure that I show like what the steps are. So this was step 1, all right, where we got y by itself right here. So all of this was step 1. And then step 2 was the analysis part, okay? Step 2 was where we identified, I can't really circle it, but step 2 was where we identified b as the y-intercept, and that the y-intercept was 2, and that m is the slope, and the slope is -5 over 2. And I guess you could say that step 2 was doing this analysis here of what to do with the slope. All right, so here's that second part that we did. And then step 3 was actually going back to the graph and graphing in the equation of the line and labeling it, okay? So those were your steps. And if you write very neatly, then you'll keep your notes in order and you won't get confused about what you did when you look back at your notes. Okay, so that was part 1 of number 2. Now we have to do the second equation. The second equation was 3x plus 6y equals -12. All right, Let's go back to Mathway just to prove to you that it's something that you could use. And let's see what Mathway says. 3x plus 6y equals negative 12. All right, now it's going to ask you what to do, and we want to write it in slope-intercept form. Okay, it gives you the answer, so you can now stop here and like go try it on your own and see if you can get this all on your own. But if you've paid that extra money, you can click this button to view the steps, and you can look at all of the steps. You know, there are more steps here than even I'm showing, but they're all here for you. Okay, they're all here for you. So those are the steps, and again, if you've paid all the money, you could get a live tutor to help you. So let's see what they tell us to do. We're going to start with this equation, 3x plus 6y equals negative 12. This is in standard form. We're trying to get it in slope-intercept form with y by itself. So we subtract 3x from both sides, divide each term by 6, then simplify. And there's all these little intermediate steps here. The way they do it's kind of weird. And then reorder the terms, which is, again, kind of odd the way they do it. And then just, you're going to pull that fraction out to the left. So you'll end up with this negative x over 2 minus 2. And you'll have to pull the negative 1/2 out of that because there's a 1 in front of that x. All right? And you could have gone to, Desmos, and you could have typed in that second line and looked at it, you know. That's that black line graph there. So you've got Mathway and Desmos to get you started. And if I was struggling and I had no one to help me, and even if these videos weren't doing enough, I would definitely be using Mathway. And I wouldn't be cheating, I would just be checking until I got comfortable enough with it. So let's now follow those steps. So the first step to getting y by itself is to subtract 3x from both sides. And we can write 6y equals negative 3x minus 12. See, on Mathway, they said to write negative 12 minus 3x, but you're just creating a problem for yourself because eventually you'll have to put that negative 3x up front. I just don't like the way they show it. You know you're going to have the x up front, so you might as well write it in the correct order to begin with, you know, IMHO. And now we're going to go in and divide every term by the y coefficient. This is the coefficient of y. So I'm going to go through and divide everything by whatever's sitting in front of y. In this case, it's 6. Cancel those 6's out. And now we have y equals negative 3x over 6. And negative 12 over 6 reduces down to negative 2. So we can write minus 2. So this is looking just like Mathway, only they simplify things in a different order. They're not wrong, it's just a different order. And now what we're going to do is pull that fraction out, that negative 3x over 6. If I want this to be in that slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, I want to pull that negative 3 over 6 out and put it in front of the x, like this. And just bring down this minus 2. Okay? Well, we're not done because we need to reduce this fraction. And negative 3 over 6 can be reduced down to negative 1 over 2. So y equals negative 1 over 2 x minus 2. Okay, so we just identify now what our slope and our y-intercept are. And it's helpful to write down this slope-intercept formula here so you can match the letters with the numbers above them. That's why I'm doing that this way. So in this example, we see that the m goes with the negative 1/2, and the b goes with negative 2. See that? So we can write our slope m equals negative 1/2, and our y-intercept b equals negative 2. And now you have everything you need to graph. Just remember that this is going to be the fall on top, and this is going to be the run on the bottom of your slope. So the way that this would work on the graph, you're going to go to negative 2 on the y-axis, and you're going to put a dot there, and then you'll follow the slope directions. Okay, so you start there at negative 2 on the y-axis, and you'll go down 1, and then it tells you to go 2 to the right. Okay, so run 1, 2. All right, and then you'll be at your new point. You'll be at your new point right here. And you're going to do that over and over again. Okay, you'll do it again. You'll go down 1 from there, and you'll go over 2. And then you'll be at another point. All right, these are all points on your line. And if ever you do that a bunch of times, you'll come in here with your straight edge and connect all those dots. All right, and you'll form the line. Just like that. So let's do that on our graph. Our y-intercept, I'll graph this one in blue so you can see the difference. Our y-intercept in this one was negative 2. So here I am at negative 2. Okay. And I'm going to follow that process that I showed you. I have a slope of negative 1/2. So I'm going to go down 1 over 2. And there's a point there. And then I'll do it again, down 1 over 2. Okay, here's a point here. And I'll do it again, down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. And you see how you could go in the other direction. You could go up 1 over 2 to the left. 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 Until you've really plotted in all the possible points. And the reason we do that is so when you bring your protractor or your straight edge in, you have to line up all those points, and it will really show you if you did it right, because they should all be lined up, right, within reason. So now just connect the dots, all right? Don't draw a line segment. You're going to draw a complete line with arrowheads at the end. And you need to go in here and label that line y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2. Okay, you're almost done. Now, what you need to do is identify the solution to the system of equations. Okay? So let's go back to Mathway and see if we can get the thing to tell us what the solution is. All right, let's try it. So again, I'll type 5x plus 2y equals 4. Oh, I wrote 27. 2y equals 4. And I also need to type, the way I did that was I held the shift key and I hit enter. Okay, hold shift and hit enter. Now I'm going to type 3x plus 6y equals negative 12. Okay, so now I've typed in the whole system. Click the arrow, and now look what it's asking you to do. Do you want to solve by substitution? Do you want to solve by the addition elimination method? Do you want to solve by graphing? Do you want to solve for x? Do you want to find the point of intersection? Right? Look at all the different rules. Right? So we want to find the points of intersection because that's the solution to the system, right? So click that, and it tells you the solution is at 2, negative 3. Okay? You can even look at a graph of it. And there it is, just like in Desmos. It tells you that the solution is at 2, negative 3. Just like that. In Desmos, it shows you the same thing. Okay, so if you go to Desmos, you can click where they intersect and you see they're at 2, negative 3. You see we had the correct y-intercepts. All right, so now let's go back to our work surface. Again, I'm showing you how I would do this problem if I didn't have any help. All right, if I didn't know what to do. And now we just need to identify the points of intersection. Okay, well there's only one point of intersection, and that point consists of an x and a y coordinate right there. The way you find it is you look what it is on the x-axis, it's 2, and on the y-axis it's at negative 1, 2, 3, negative 3. So 2, negative 3. So now that I've gone through this process here for doing this graphing to solve a system of equations by graphing, I showed you how you can get help on this problem, even with the steps involved. Okay, I guess I should have labeled these like the steps that I took. This was the first part here. Okay, and then this was the second part here, where I did the analysis. And then the third part was actually putting it on the graph. So that's everything you would need to do to solve a system by graphing. All right? So now you should be able to do number 3, and I want to invite you, please utilize the resources I just showed you to do number 3. Because at this point, that's the only one that you still have to do. So you got Desmos, you got Mathway, and you've got the other video where I showed you how to do these two. Okay? So I'm going to stop the video there and upload another video to show a similar process for how I would solve a system by substitution, and then I'll solve one by elimination using this where I try to show you how you can teach yourself how to do it. But ultimately, there are some things that you need to be aware of, okay? The first thing you need to be aware of is that you have to do a lot of work. And, you know, parents, students, teachers, administrators, everybody feels different about, you know, the amount of time a person should spend doing homework. My answer to the question, how much time should a student spend doing homework, is that student should spend as much time as they need to. Okay? Because it's going to be different for everybody. And I'll tell you, remember the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? I was definitely the tortoise. I was very slow. Okay, I did not know what I was doing, and just like in these videos, it takes me a very long time. If I don't write everything out very neatly, that's why I started using, way back when I was a kid, because I'm left-handed, I tend to write at an angle, and my hand tends to smear the ink as I write. If you're left-handed, you know the struggle. So I started being like a OCD about writing everything super neat and lining everything up like this, you know? And then that student that asked me, could I please separate my work out, you know, so they know what the steps were? That's a great idea. You know, I should definitely be doing that more often, you know, every time. But, you know, this problem took 35 minutes to solve. Well, yeah, maybe it did, right? I mean, is it really possible that a person should spend 35 minutes doing just one of 12 problems? Well, maybe, yeah. Because if this time it takes you 35 minutes, and next time it might take you 25 minutes, and next time after that it might take you 10 minutes, and then you'll get down to where you can do it super fast, okay? And let me show you how fast you can get. Right? Just looking here at number 3, I'm going to show you how fast you could get, right? You're going to do number 3 on your own, but I'm going to show you just how fast you can get. Well, no, I won't do number 3. I'll show you how fast you can get with number 1 here, all right? Because I want you to do number 3. I really do. I want you to go do it. So in number 1, we have to turn 4x. Here, let's time it. Let's time how long it would take when you get super fast at this. Let me pull up my timer here. All right. I guess I've kind of given myself a head start by writing 4x, huh? All right, I'll act like I'm writing it again. Ready, set, go. Okay, write 4x minus y equals 3. And I'm going to solve for y. Subtract 4x from both sides. Okay, cancel out those. And now negative y equals negative 4x plus 3. Now we could either just change all the signs, or we could remember that there's a 1 there. And so what I'm really doing, and what Mathway would probably tell you to do, is to divide every term by negative 1, which is exactly the same thing as changing all of the signs. Those negative 1's cancel out, and now I have y equals 4x over 1. And then 3 divided by negative 1 changes this to a negative 3. And I have y, I'm going to pull out that fraction. And I love that we're going to write it like this, 4 over 1x minus 3. It's actually better to leave that 4 over 1 in an improper form because it shows you that the rise is 4 and the run is 1, and that the y-intercept is at negative 3. So my m, my slope, is equal to 4 over 1. Okay, and my b, my y-intercept, is at negative 3. Okay, so then I would go back and graph it. All right, now then I would take that second equation and I would do 3x plus y equals 4. All right, so I'm going to get y by itself, subtract 3x from both sides. Oops, you can't see it anymore. Subtract 3x from both sides. Cancel out those, and now we've got y equals, put that negative 3x up front, negative 3x plus 4. All right, that was easy to solve. Now you've got it in y equals mx plus b form. So m equals negative 3 over 1, right? Because you want to write it as an improper fraction so you understand rise over run. And the y-intercept equals positive 4. Okay, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to get where you need to, and then you would have to take the time and actually go graph it in, but this problem wouldn't take you any more than 5 minutes. And then you'd find the point of intersection and write it down as coordinates. Okay? So the point of doing that wasn't to make you feel bad, but to give you something to shoot for. And I wasn't even like speeding through it, and I don't recommend that you do that. If you were to go any faster than that, you might make some kind of silly little tiny error, and you would make a mistake. And I did that over the weekend. I had students in my room for Saturday school, and I solved it. I solved number 3, and I solved it wrong because I was trying to hurry and I wasn't paying attention. So I hope this was helpful to you. This was we slowed it way down, and I wanted to show you some different ways that you could help teach yourself how to solve math problems so you don't struggle so much in high school and college, quite frankly. Thanks so much for paying attention to this and listening. Appreciate it.